But let's get things started with the DXY. So USD has been a little bit lazy, just hasn't really got moving. I was hoping CPI last week, will get things rolling, but haven't really seen that. I've been pretty much focused with this range here as price has been trading back and forth between resistance and support. We haven't really gone anywhere outside of that. But we are hinting at a move to the downside. I do think that is the likely outcome of the next move for the DXY. I do think price is still likely to come back to these lows and perhaps see new lows as well. You can see with all these wicks to the upside, the market's tried numerous times to try and break higher, and the market is still failing to do so. So I do think we can see a lot more downside. I'm looking at support here, and now that is turned resistance. And you can see by the numerous wicks into that zone, the market is really struggling to break through that area. So by default, I do expect us to now see a move lower. Price does move most of the time in the path of least resistance. There's a lot of resistance above our heads there. So I do think dollar is likely to drop. But again, we're not really seeing that same picture being painted well on the 4-hour chart. I mean, you could argue there is some consistency with lower highs. So the market has been trying to move lower, and you can argue there's some consistency with these lower lows as well, just about. So there is a slight bearish trajectory to the 4-hour chart, but at the end of the day, we are still quite flat, still quite range bound, and still more or less trading at support. So until we can get like a convincing move lower, something like this to break out the range well and truly, maybe take out the lows here to the left as well, then I'll be pretty confident with that bearish bias. And then, of course, looking for a push to the lows would be the likely plan. And hopefully some pullback, especially intraday. I think swinging might be a little bit tight, but let's see if we can get an intraday pullback, midweek, maybe to retest prior support turn resistance. That could be a really nice trade there. And hopefully try and find the continuation of that and maybe the next lower high in this sequence as we kind of continue. So I do see dollar rolling to the downside. Of course, anything can still happen. If we see some strength and maybe a strong close like this on the 4-hour chart, that kind of paints a different picture. So that's why I'm waiting for that move to happen to be like, okay, we've got the kind of the confirmation of the breakout of that range. There's a strong likelihood that we do continue lower. So with this move, things do open up. At the moment, it's still quite flat. I'd argue shorts still look a little bit flat right now, so I wouldn't really jump into anything just yet. Maybe intraday with those wicks, you can take advantage of that, but it looks really choppy. So if you can get that move lower, take out some lows, I do think we are likely to keep falling. And of course, euro dollar, same thing, but of course in the opposite direction. Price has been stuck within this range here, more or less equal highs, more or less equal lows. Price has been really flat, but again, you can see euro hinting at a move to the upside with some of these higher lows starting to pick up some momentum. At the moment, kind of trapped at resistance. It's basically the same picture as the DXY. So again, if euro can give us that push to the upside, that will again confirm things that this bullish structure still has room to continue. We're probably seeing just the continuation of that higher time frame trend we've seen throughout most of the year, pretty much, and that probably will take us back to highs, which will be 1.18325. So yeah, going forward with euro, I am again hinting at a move to the upside. It's not quite ready to be bought yet, so I am staying patient before jumping into any entries, because I would still argue that we're trading at resistance right now. And again, if we were to reject that well, see a strong close like this, that will definitely paint a different picture. Likewise with the DXY. So that move to the upside is what will convince me. And then not only would I expect price to get to highs at 1.18325, but most likely new highs as well. Maybe 1.19, that'll be the next big psychological level. But we are hinting at move higher, just kind of need things to get the ball rolling, really. Pound USD, I would still argue in the same light as well. I do think this is hinting at a move higher. I'm looking at a very big inverse head and shoulder pattern. So there's your left shoulder, there's your head, and of course that will be your right shoulder. So if price can break through this, would be the neckline of the pattern. That will again really confirm things for the bullish bias, and at that point I would expect us to make our way back to swing highs at 1.37794 and beyond. So really, for a nice bullish opportunity on pound, would just be waiting for the break of this level. whether you're looking to try and call the longs on the breakout or you're looking for longs on a pullback, perhaps the retest of the level, either which way, as long as price is above that resistance, we're bullish, or at least I'm bullish anyway. I'm bullish on pound USD and looking for pullbacks, looking for a retest and expecting us to push back to the highs. This looks like a higher low. We're still seeing a lot of force to the upside. We had a lot of selling pressure a couple of weeks back, didn't really amount to much. So that's a big sign to me that the sellers are not really seeing much strength or can't see their strength continue. So I do favor more upside there for pound, even though we're still at resistance. There might be some short-term sell opportunities, but I do think the bigger move is likely to the upside. So again, waiting for something like that. And I do think the buys that follow will be really, really nice. In terms of dollar CAD, this one, again, I'm really bearish on, but I'm not too sure if I get the setup I'm after, because if the dollar does make a move from here, if the DXY does make a move to the downside from where it's currently at, then I don't think I'll get the setup I'm looking for, which is a test of these highs. I'm looking to see if price can run back to the highs first, reject the highs, kind of in a similar fashion as to what we did previously. You can see we had highs back over here. Price ran the highs, really aggressive move. That's really where I want to kind of position myself short, get some stops above the high, and hopefully take advantage of a big move down. But the reason I say that is because price looks really corrected, really tight at the moment. You can see we've been chugging away to the upside, looking very tight. So, which is a good sign. It means that this bullish move probably isn't for continuation. It probably is to form a lower high or retest prior highs to continue to drop. So it does point the direction to the downside as the next move for dollar CAD most likely, but it might not be at the location I'm looking for. So another opportunity to consider, maybe a break of this counter trend line, a strong close below that could be a nice opportunity. Maybe a stop loss above the highs here, or even here if you want to have a bit more wiggle room. And then of course your first major target would be a push to the support level, which you could argue is somewhat of a neckline of this head and shoulder pattern. Left head, right shoulder, kind of the inverse of pound USD. Pound USD, we've got inverse head and shoulder. Dollar CAD, we've got an actual head and shoulder pattern. And yeah, I would suggest a strong break of that counter trend line. The likelihood of us getting back to lows would be pretty high at that point. But yeah, it would be nice to get positioned up there. Just not too sure we've got enough energy to see that happen. But in terms of direction, it's the same. Looking for more downside for dollar CAD, and eventually a push to these lows is my longer term target. In terms of Aussie dollar's been very interesting, very bullish. I was looking to sell this one all week last week, but didn't really see a solid entry for that. I was looking to see if price can maybe manipulate the highs here, come back down and see an aggressive selling pressure, but didn't really see that happen. Looks to me that price is finding support here, if anything, and looks like it's trying to continue. If price still does come back down below the high, I probably will still consider shorts, but I have to keep an eye on the DXY, because if the DXY is still looking bearish, then I probably do hold off, because if the DXY is going to be bearish, this is likely to head high. I need DXY to be looking bullish to some degree. So there could still be some selling opportunities here. I know price is trading above resistance here, but sometimes we do fake the highs, and manipulate them, as you probably much aware of. So we could see price come back underneath that high, and I do think the selling opportunities can come into play. If not, if we are going to continue this trend and be bullish, then there could be some opportunities in another test of this area, especially if you're a bit more intraday, like a hourly chart or even 30-minute chart. Let's say if price can push back into lows, I think that'll be a smart place for a buy. And then from there, you can bet on the continuation of that uptrend, because there's a lot of momentum right now for Aussie dollar. And if that is going to continue, this would be a smart place to position yourself. Not only are you catching the retest of the high here, but you've got some nice intraday support which you're buying from as well. As for New Zealand dollar, this one had a strong reaction to the upside after CPI on Friday as well. Still kind of trading in supply, so I'll be a bit watchful of this one, because if we are going to sell off, this will be the place for it. And we are quite corrective still. It's not like we're seeing crazy bullish momentum. I'll still argue we've been very corrective on the way up. I think if we can break structure, so if price can break through that high, that will be the key thing we're looking for buying opportunities. So if price can see a strong close above that, Now say, okay, this structure is well and truly broken, and the likelihood of us running to highs, or at least one of these highs, is pretty likely at that point. And then yeah, pullbacks, break and retest look really good, and this could be a very smart trade with some distance to room to move into. So yeah, New Zealand dollar hinting at some buys potentially, still in a bit of an awkward place to buy the market. Looking to our left, this is a supply zone. This is our prior lower high, which gave us this low here. So technically speaking, we could still form a lower high, and I would still argue we look quite corrective. So yes, the market has been bullish, but we are in an awkward area. So I would watch out for that. But let's say if we do create new highs, well, that does simplify things, and I would expect more upside from then onwards. As for gold, gold has been super bullish. I still think the buys are the best bet with gold here. I know we're starting to fail at highs a little bit, seeing some wicks to the upside, but I wouldn't start panicking just yet. I want to see some really aggressive selling pressure and price breaking through lows before I do start to even think about shifting to more of a bearish bias with gold, or backing away from buying opportunities. From now, I think the buys are still the best bet. Similar to what we did last week, your price came back into the lows, dipped slightly below, saw a nice bullish move. I will be looking at a copy and paste of that, another push to lows again, and then perhaps another similar move back to highs, or back into some lower time frame supply. This is a nice area of demand here, perhaps could even tag into that before buying to the upside. So I'm still looking at a market that is showing a lot of momentum. Yes, we have formed a bit of a high, as you would do. The market's just not going to be, bullish candle after bullish candle forever. It's going to have a deeper correction at some point in time. But the clear current environment is still very bullish, still seeing healthy retracements and healthy momentum. So anywhere around 36.20, 36.10, I think is a smart place for a buy. We'll see how price gets, then see how we react to justify the bullish opportunity. But things look good. I think that's a smart place for a buy, and targets back at resistance, maybe new highs as well. Things go very well. And in terms of silver very bullish as well. I think what would be nice would be a pullback to retest that consolidation. Price can pull back into 41.4 roughly, retest that high. Again, silver is starting to run out of steam a little bit. We've had a lot of momentum recently, starting to give us longer consolidation periods. We did see a breakout, but it wasn't emphatic like this one. Big candle over there, but we are starting to tie already. So there's clear signs that silver, and gold for that matter, is starting to tie and run out of juice a little bit. But personally, I would still very much be a buyer. So let's say price was to come back and retest. Focus on entries on the retest of the high will look good, and at least a push back to the prior high, and then we'll go from there. Perhaps we see new highs, perhaps price fails and comes back down. That would be a smart area to lock in some gains, or at least manage the trade in some way. But again, still very, very bullish.